30 seconds. You hear me? We are going to call this Wednesday, December 14th meeting to order. We will start by a prayer and contemplation led by Commissioner Krupa, then the pledge. Please stand.
Okay, just a second.
I apologize for my technical delay, but I want to make sure that I say this properly. So if you don't mind. I wanted to mark the passing of a longtime county servant this week that many of you may remember. It's a dear friend of mine from high school, Ron Weiler. His grandfather was the sheriff here in Grand Traverse County, and he lost his father unexpectedly this week. And I wanted to make sure I said the right thing, but unfortunately, I'm probably not going to. Give me just a moment, because I wanted to say his rank properly. His name was Ron Weiler as well. Ron was born in 1945 and died 2016. Ron was the son of former Grand Traverse County Sheriff Richard P. Weiler. He was a 1963 graduate of St. Francis, and he ended up serving Grand Traverse County as a deputy, as well as being the assistant chief of the Grand Traverse County Fire Department. So on behalf of his family, I offered to say something from Grand Traverse County, just to thank somebody who has 2 generations of service in their family. And if we can all take a moment to remember him, but also so many that we said goodbye to this year. I think I've made this speech many times this year. It's been a long year. So remembering him and everybody here that serves, and being a non-denominational person myself, I ask that you just say something that serves you in memory of them. Can we please say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next thing is roll call, please. I'll start you, Bonnie.
Okay. Krupa?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Klaus?
Here.
Crawford? Here. Johnson?
Here.
Maxbauer? Here. Lathrop?
Here. Okay, next is the approval of minutes. Let's first think about the minutes of December 7th, 2016. Are there any changes, deletions, corrections? If not, they'll stand as read. And then the minutes of December, that's a special session. Then the minutes of December 7th, 2016 through regular session. Any changes, deletions, or corrections? Okay, they'll stand as read. Then we have the first public comment, and that again starts our wonderful Bonnie.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized, and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Okay, now is the first chance for public comment. I want to have you realize that there's going to be another public comment available at the end of the meeting, And then usually, if we're discussing something, we accept a public comment during that, while we're discussing that issue. I want you to realize, too, that the Board of Commissioners can respond to you, but we're not supposed to, and it's not, we're just listening to your comment. So, okay, who wants to be first? Don't be shy.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lathrop. Good evening, Commissioners. This is my first public comment at a meeting. And many of you know me. My name is Joanne Tuck. I live at 1901 West Curry Drive, Traverse City, Michigan. I'm a Blair Township resident. Ron Klaus is my district commissioner. I'm also an employee. Many of you know that I've worked in HR. I've been there 3 months shy of 5 years. And I prepared comments because I know I go off track, so I'm sorry. Since I've been here, I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with many employees and department heads. And in HR, we feel the pulse of what the board does. The actions affect the employees. HR hears it. And so I tried to keep myself abreast. Some of the things have impacted us, and myself as well. I realize that they're necessary, and I support them. I'm leaving the county on Friday with a heavy heart because I love it here. Last week, Commissioner Crawford came to the public comment podium and said that tonight she intends to make a motion to rescind the resolution setting the commissioner pay at $1 for the 2017-18 term. So $1 a year for 2 years is what was passed in March. I can tell you that I would not work for $1 a year for the type of work you have to do. I'm going to just ask anyone in the audience if they're agreeing with me to stand up. They don't have to come to the comments, but if there's any support for bringing this back and rescinding that motion to give the commissioners back the pay that they're going to earn, I would urge you to do that tonight. The two that did not support, I'm looking to you to be the leaders. I really am. The budget is balanced. There's full employment going on. And so I ask that you please bring the issue back, rescind it, and reconsider. So I applaud you, and I ask that you rethink this and deliver a positive outcome for those staying on and those coming out, just to build board camaraderie. So I thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Nice job. Thank you. Is there someone else who would like to make a comment, please?
My name is Tom Mayer. I'd gladly follow that. Thank you for speaking up. I'm going to talk about maybe 3 things in my 3 minutes. I looked at the binder that was passed out at the last meeting. I took the activity through 10/31 of 2016. I divided it by 10 for the 10 months. I multiplied it by 12. And that increased the 16 budget by about $10 million to the point of 61 million. And then I looked at the amended budget. It says it's 65 million. The difference from what has been spent and what the budget is $4.1 million, so that deserves some explanation before you do your 17 budget. I'm simplifying, obviously, because I don't know all the expenses over the next 2 months, but it does kind of stick out. When the amount of commission salary and per diem added together, it's over $100,000, maybe $110,000 or $120,000, right? Okay, so that would be about 2% of that figure that I just gave you. If you're going to do a 2017 budget, I really think we need to know how we're going to end up at the end of 2016, not just through December, not just through October 31st. It'd be a real simple solution to this if you are willing to be open-minded, and I especially am looking to Drs. Johnson and Drs. Lathrop, a PhD and a medical doctor who I understand the full gravity of this. I also tell you something personal. My wife has been using a wheelchair since she was 18, and part of what I do is I take care of my wife. And attending meetings at my cost, out of pocket, and taking care of my wife, since she's paralyzed from the waist down, is a financial problem. And if you can only just think about that, well, that's a good reason why somebody should get paid for attending these meetings. I feel so strongly about joining this board, I can't even put it into words, because my hope is that this board is going to change and become a kinder board. And I'm not going to see real outrageous emotional diatribe. I'm not going to expect people to bully. I'm not going to expect people to just be harsh. And you know, one of the reasons that I ran, it's because nobody else would run. And it was time to change a member of the board, and I stepped up to do that. I stepped up to do that when no one else would. And it's really interesting that I actually won the election because I'm a minor party, a third-party candidate. You really need to think hard. Anyone who gets compensation of any form cannot accept it or return it. That's the point here, is you need to let people live their life and compensate them for their work, and if they don't want the compensation, then they can return it. It's simple. It's really simple. And you do have the money. You do have the money. And the sky's not falling. And there is a way to fix the pension crisis. I wouldn't even call it a crisis. It's just a problem. It's a serious problem that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else, please?
Mute your side of it. Thank you.
Please come on up.
Good evening. Ooh,
Say it.
my big feet, sorry. Good evening, Carol Stocking. I live at 9662 Blackman Road in Kingsley, Michigan. Also an employee as Joanne, and I'm also up here to speak, hoping that you all vote in support of turning or changing the commissioner's pay back into a reality, for many of the same reasons that Mr. Mayor spoke about. But I also want to speak from the employee standpoint, and I can only speak for myself, but as an employee, I would not expect a commissioner to work for free. This is a big job, an important job, and you don't get compensated much anyhow, but certainly to do it for nothing is not an expectation that any employee would have, I believe. And with that, too, I think as an employee going into a short-term employee of this county, I understand, but going into 2017, I really feel like it's important that the board show leadership and a strong spirit of cooperation going into a new year with a new board, and this is your opportunity to make that happen by reinstating the compensation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Please don't be shy.
Good evening. I'm Tom Bensley, Grand Traverse County Sheriff. To the best of my knowledge, this will be the only opportunity for me to address this board regarding the Sheriff's Office 2017 budget. The budget process this year has once again come down to the 11th hour in the 12th month. We had our requested budget in its entirety in July of this year. It was prepared and submitted in May, and it has taken over 5 months to start talking about the budget. We had our personnel projections in July before someone pushed a button and deleted personnel information. Maybe it was the Russians. They're being blamed for hacking everything. That being said, at this point, we're mostly satisfied with what has been discussed. However, there are two areas of concern. The first is the elimination of $125,000 for the purchase of 5 patrol cars. This is an issue that has yet to be resolved, and we have some proposed solutions to discuss with the county administrators. Money is available, and I'm sure that it can be resolved. The second is the resolution passed 2 weeks ago by this board requiring a reduction in the Sheriff's Office budget of an amount of money equal to the difference between 6% and 20% co-pays in health insurance costs. The amount of reduction at this time is unknown to us. It's been estimated to be anywhere from $115,000 to $171,000. The resolution that was passed required 13 bargaining units to approve a 15% health care copay as opposed to a 20% copay. If any one of those bargaining units is opposed to that agreement, the deal would fall through and the sheriff's office budget would be reduced by an as yet to be determined amount of money. That money would be put in an escrow account to pay back employees should the county lose 5 unfair labor practice charges. This is blackmail. I would request that you rescind the resolution to require the sheriff's office budget reductions in 2017 for the following reasons. Number one, according to the county's attorney, Mr. Peter Cole, this issue will not be resolved until 2018. Therefore, the money would not be needed until 2018, so why is it being earmarked in 2017? There is currently $150,000 in the recommended budget for this exact purpose. What happens to that $150,000 if this resolution is not rescinded? This is not fair. It targets the sheriff's office and very well may affect our operations. Finally, what is most troubling is that despite all the rhetoric of transparency, openness, collaboration, and working together, because we're all in this together, is that none of this has occurred with our office or our employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anybody else? Welcome.
My name is Ken Engel, 6754 Yuba Road, Williamsburg. I would like to express my appreciation to the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners for letting me speak on continued funding of MSU Extension. My wife Jan and I are fruit farmers in Acme Township. In the past 60 years, I've seen many changes in the farming community. Changes in the crops and the way we grow those crops, improved ways of dealing with pests and diseases, and transitions as one generation entrusts our farmland to the next. One constant over those years has been MSU Extension helping not just agriculture, but many stakeholders in our community. The biggest challenge was not wondering if there was relevant information. It was keeping up where the county office is located. Yes, I remember when the offices were in the basement of the post office. Today, MSU Extension is critical for our farm and all cherry farms as we deal with spotted wing Drosophila, a game-changing invasive fruit fly which is threatening to put us out of business. MSU Extension, in cooperation with the university, is doing research in the life cycle of SWD, looking for effective management strategies and providing scientific data for changes to pesticide labels. This support is essential for us to stay in business. MSU Extension is counted on to provide support and education. I've noticed that MSU Extension has an extensive library of online videos available to help new and beginning farmers with essential skills needed to be successful. It doesn't matter who you are or how large your operation is, or if you are conventional or organic, Extension is prepared to help you throughout our community. My father used them. They are important to Jan and myself, and I know that it makes Grand Traverse County a better place for everyone if we can depend on the county commission keeping MSU Extension funded. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody else? I love your shirt.
Thank you.
It's fun on a snowy day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Evan Smith, 809 Washington in Traverse City. I am the Director of Policy and Outreach for Cherry Capital Foods, a local food distribution business. and I want to address the similar topic, or the same topic that Ken did with regard to MSU's extension and your support, and urge your continued support. I think that many of the impacts that MSU extension have on our region go unnoticed. Whether it be 4-H, whether it be the extension service, or whether it be the product development center, the ripple effect and the collective impact on both the preservation of our agricultural heritage and the way of life that has drawn so many people here and continues to have an impact on jobs and the tourism industry is undeniably greater than we can see with the dollars that you are supporting it with. At Cherry Capital Foods, we have a joint facility in the old Glacier Dome that we share with the Grand Traverse Food Shed Alliance, which is chaired by Rob Sarine of MSU Extension. That is helping develop 9 businesses within our facility that are all doing value-added production with the support of the Product Center that are contributing both jobs and dollars to our local economy. When we see the Grand Traverse region being named as a top location for food or wine or beer, all good things, we know that that money is being brought here from the outside, and the Product Development Center from MSU has been integral in supporting not only Cherry Capital Foods, but a multitude of other small businesses, and the ripple effect on our economy in terms of jobs is incalculable. So I thank you for your support, and I urge your continued support of MSU Extension. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. I think I know most of you. Thanks for your continued service to our county. My name is Isaiah Wunsch, 15168 Croper Road South, Traverse City, Michigan. And I'm also here to urge continued support for MSU Extension. I'm a millennial. You may have noticed that I was playing around with my phone earlier. So I'm not stuck in some old school approach to distributing information for the agricultural industry. I've been familiar with MSU Extension for about 15 or 20 years, and as technology has evolved, the services and programs offered by MSU Extension, both to our agricultural industry as well as to other residents of our community, I think have adapted quite well. I would say that MSU Extension is providing a lot of the traditional informational resources that they used to provide online, but they've done a great job of adapting to the times and providing a lot of hands-on assistance that, frankly, you just wouldn't be able to provide via computer. As Ken was mentioning, our local Extension office has been a huge assistance for the control of spotted wing Drosophila and cherries. We also manage a few acres of grapes, and the local Extension office in Grand Traverse County really specializes in that area. I think it would be a huge loss for our wine industry, and I think it would have sort of cascading impacts into our tourism industry if we were to lose that resource in this area. And let me just check my phone to make sure I didn't miss anything else. Oh, and the other thing that I wanted to mention, 2 more things, would be the leadership programs that are available through MSU Extension. I've been through an ag-focused leadership program, the New Farm program, as well as the Great Lakes Leadership Academy, which is a statewide MSU Extension program focused on developing policy leadership skills. And then the final thing that I wanted to touch on, I am a township trustee in Peninsula Township, and MSU Extension has been helpful for my township, both in that they provide the planning program, planning training program, Citizen Planner, as well as helping my township with addressing some regulatory issues. They're basically an impartial third party between the township and a local business that we're having some trouble with on an SDP. So thanks again. Appreciate your continued support.
Thank you very much, Jose. Anybody else? One, going twice, third. Okay, let's bring it back to the board. And I think the next thing is to approval of agenda. I've been asked to add an item about brownfield in the city. And where would we put that? Under new business?
I think that item, along with the item I'm going to add, can go under old business.
Old business? What's your item?
Okay. My item would be the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the Board of Public Works appointment. And we could also have the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the brownfield appointment for the city commission rep.
Okay. And, okay, can I have a motion to,
I'll make the motion to amend the agenda as presented.
okay, is there a second?
Support.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. Now we go to the consent calendar, again, starring Bonnie.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed in the consent calendar, from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Conservation District Monthly Report. Number 2, MAC 2016 Annual Conference Report by Carol Crawford. B, approvals. Number 1, citizen appointments to boards and committees, EDC Board. Number 2, citizen appointments to boards and committees, Parks and Recreation.
Okay, is there anything from this consent calendar that the board would like to pull off?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Johnson seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then that passes. And the next thing would be special orders of business. And we have some plaques and things, and as acting chair, Chris would normally do this, but let me start. This is a certificate of appreciation for the outgoing County Drain Commissioner, Kevin McEllier. Unfortunately, he can't be here tonight. He had to go and be with his family downstate. But I will read this to you. The Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners is proud to acknowledge your involvement in making Grand Traverse County, the state of Michigan, a better place for us to live and enjoy. Our sincere appreciation and thanks goes out to you, Kevin McEllier, for your past 12 years of service as Drain Commissioner for Grand Traverse County. We also wish to thank you for your contribution in the area of soil erosion and sedimentation control during that time, and for the current countywide stormwater control ordinances. You have been an enthusiastic steward for our resources, advocating for citizens and property rights through managing complex environmental, legal, and engineering issues on behalf of the citizens of Grand Traverse County. You have provided a valuable service to your constituents and an advocate for protecting our natural resources. For your courteous service and valuable contributions, we thank you. Signed by you, Christine, Max Bauer, Chairperson, Board of Commissioners, this December 14th, 2016. So I know that if he were here, he would humbly accept this and be honored by it. So I've done that. Now, next we have a plaque. It says, in recognition, and this is for Christine Maxbauer, outgoing chair.
Oh, Dan, skip that.
You're not chairing this meeting, Christine, I am. In recognition of your dedication and effective leadership, Christine Maxbauer, County Commissioner, 2007 through 2016. It's a long time to be County Commissioner. We sincerely appreciate your comments, your commitment to the citizens of Grand Traverse County for the past 10 years. Presented by the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners this December 14, 2016. It's a real nice plaque, Chris, and we'll be happy to give it to you when you get here. And this next one is for Elisa Kropa. In recognition of your dedication and effective leadership, Elisa Kropa, County Commissioner 2015 through 2016, we sincerely appreciate your commitment to the citizens of Grand Traverse County. Presented by the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners this December 14, 2016. I want to give this to you personally.
We had to be on the opposite sides.
That's right. I think he's going to go to the hall.
Come on out here, girl.
I'm not, we'll go right here.
Come on.
I'll give you a hug, Dan.
God bless you, do a wonderful job.
Thank you for everything. Thank you, Chris. If you're there. You aren't sitting in the sun right now?
I'm thinking you can't be sitting there, too.
She informed me it was
And
cool
also,
today, it was 75.
Chris Maxbauer did get a gavel that has her dates on it and a little, I don't know what you call it. What is it called?
Here.
Oh, it's the little thing you pound it on. So
Oh,
I can't think what
she
it's
got them both.
It's
not your head anyway. I know this may seem tedious, but these people have done so much. Let's put this back then. Okay, let's see. All right, items removed from the consent calendar, there's none. Departmental items, County Administrator's Office, adoption of the 2017 budget. Okay, who wants to take that?
Finance Director.
Sure. Good evening, and thank you, Vice Chair Lathrop. To the audience, last week we presented at a special session the recommended 2017 budget for the general fund and the special revenue funds. We're here before you this week. We've been contacted by a number of commissioners with additional questions regarding the preparation and content of the budget. I hope that they have found their responses satisfactory.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the 2017 budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Support.
Okay. Okay, we got a support from Commissioner Klaus. Okay, discussion, please. Dr. Johnson.
You know, in the narrative, it talks about this budget is not using any fund balance. What is our fund balance currently at?
I'm trying to get to the best place that I would have it. So the
And just a rough estimate on the percentage of.
So at the end of fiscal year 15, our unreserved fund balance was $6.66 million. Total fund balance was over 9.
And are we below that 15%?
No, we are not.
Okay.
Other discussion? Commissioner.
You know, I think I've met with Jody the other night for an extended length of time. I appreciate her time. You know, my problem, I did survey pretty much all of the county departments. They all tell me that what they requested is pretty much funded in their budget. And as I expressed to Jody, I'm less concerned about the numbers as I am the way we got to the numbers. You know, I have a really big problem in the fact that we didn't have an open discussion with the budget. We didn't have dialogues with county employees and departments as to what services or how they would recommend we do it. And even more importantly, that the County Board of Commissioners was not given an opportunity to have input on how the budget was being developed and operated.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Please don't be shy. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's also important to remember that, while, we'll have some give and take about the sheriff's department and other departments, that this still is just a starting point, if you will. That, this will be, hopefully we'll see increased revenues where we can, maybe make some adjustments throughout the year, so.
I have said repeatedly for many, many years that the budget is a living document. We amend it basically every month. As grant monies come in and expenditures are switched from one fund to another. And I understand we do not pass a line on a budget. If we passed a line on our budget, there would be a whole lot more discussion have to be had.
Anybody else? Yes.
I have a question about the 15% resolution. Sheriff Bensley had mentioned the dollar amount for the Sheriff's Department reserve or cut if that resolution passed. That resolution passed, but it was the caveat that all 13 bargaining units agreed, and we were given notice this week that the Sheriff's Department unions did not agree. So doesn't that make that resolution null and void? It's not going to happen. So therefore, the Sheriff's Department isn't going to have the extra 100 plus, I can't remember the dollar amount cut. Is that the truth, or am I reading this wrong?
According to Public Act 152, we have no flexibility. We either do it across the board,
Right.
or we don't do it. So we're required by state statutes to do 20% across the board. So we will be implementing the 20% across the board January 1. Because of the litigation with the Sheriff's Department, we will do the court or do the 6%, but we will have to take that out in lieu of the appeal process.
So the escrow still goes through regardless of the 15% change because of the Public Act
That is
that
correct.
initiates the across the board.
Isn't?
If I may provide clarification. So the recommended budget did include so the recommended budget was developed prior to the passage of the resolution with the contingency that if the 8 bargaining units accepted the 15%, that the sheriff would be tasked with reducing his budget to that corresponding difference between 6% and 15%. With the development of the recommended budget outside of the healthcare resolution, we had set aside, without reductions to the sheriff department's request, $150,000 in a contingency line item.
And that is for if the county loses the appeal against the Sheriff Department unions, those dollars would pay the difference back to the members of those 5 Sheriff Department unions.
Correct.
Because all 5 of those have contracts that don't expire until December 31st, 2017.
The litigation is based on a contractual agreement that they're saying kept us from making the change, and we're saying under state law 152 that we can do it, we have to do it across the
Right,
board.
I understand that. The recommended budget, though, does not include that money in it.
So the recommended budget was developed with the resolution that was passed implementing the authority under PA 152 that
20%.
all employees will be contributing 20% to their monthly health care premium effective January 1.
So as we collect it from them, we put it into escrow.
For the sheriff's department
that's what I mean.
only,
Right.
that $150,000, yes, will be
Okay.
placed in escrow. And
Okay?
it is an approximate number for that difference between 6% and 20%, as, we do anticipate that we've got vacancies at any given time, that individuals may, single individuals may get married individuals may separate.
Changes.
Okay?
There was one comment that wasn't absolutely correct. Our labor attorney said the appeal could take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. So it could happen in 6 months, it could happen 12 months. We don't know when it would come on the docket, but At the outside 18, at the best case scenario, possibly 6, so, and anything in between, so.
Anybody else? Okay, then I have a comment I want to make about the budget. I want to thank the department heads because they worked in coordination with Jody and Jen, and I guess did a wonderful job in trying to make this budget, be a manageable, balancing budget. And I was blessed by the fact that they were so helpful to our staff and to our county, working as a team. It was kind of cool. So, we have a motion and we have a second. We've discussed. Do we need a roll call on this, or?
It wouldn't hurt since it has
Why
to
don't
do
we
with
do
the
a roll
budget.
call on this one?
Can we have public comment?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Come on up.
I apologize for saying that, but
No, my fault.
that's okay. It was brought to my attention that there may have been a mistake in the Register of Deeds request for money. I don't know if anybody knows about this, but it's very hard for somebody who's not on the board like myself to look for mistakes, but I try. I don't think that the amount that's in the book, in the binder, is the amount that she requested, the Register of Deeds. And I would like to know if that's true.
So there are any number of changes that were made to the requested budget, to the recommended budget, as I had described in the special meeting last Wednesday. One of those particular matters were revenues. And second to that is balancing the transfers in and out between all funds. So the general fund supports any number of other operating funds. They're listed within the bound budget document that you have before you. And one of those funds is the automation fund. The automation fund, managed by the Register of Deeds, requires that $5 per document fee must be transferred and used for this designated purpose. With the budget that was submitted, in fact, no transfer, or a transfer that did not balance, was included. I looked at the historical activity and found that for each of the past, 8 years, I believe, the AS400 goes back, the transfers out equaled exactly the transfers in from the Register of Deeds general fund budget to the automation fund budget. I received a phone call Friday morning. I was out of the office and did speak with the Register of Deeds Monday afternoon and followed up again on Tuesday morning regarding the fact that she was requesting use of fund balance. So I actually do have a note to myself to bring that to the board's attention. But as the board has already stated, the budget is a living document. This wasn't a mistake. This is something that we are aware of. And as I have just described, there is that necessary balance. So should there be use of fund balance or the transfer out would be the vote of the board. 2/3 vote of the board must authorize use of fund balance. But that is something that we are aware of and will be discussing. Thank you.
My other comment earlier also had to do with the budget. I may have oversimplified, but I will practically bet on it at this point that there will be a surplus in excess of the amount of money that the commissioners would be paid. There will be a surplus from the 16 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, let's do our roll call vote, please. Thank you very much, Jody.
Wheelock?
Wait, we have a public commenter.
Oh, do we? Another public comment?
They can't decide which one's going to go, but I can hear the rumblings back there.
And it's Nate.
He drew
Did you
the
draw
short
the
straw.
short straw?
That is not a short joke. That is
no.
not a short undersheriff.
Now
joke.
it is.
I wouldn't have thought.
Now it is.
I would like to seek clarification specific to the need of the resolution surrounding the 80/20. If the pre-resolution budget already included the $150,000 as a contingency, why is there a resolution mandating that the funds come out of the Sheriff's Department budget? I'm just hoping for some clarity.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Wheelock?
No.
Klaus?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Max Bauer? Can you hear me? She's gone.
Is she off?
She's off. Kropa?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes. Did Max Bauer vote?
She did not, she was pretty wiggly. I don't know what happened to her, let me see if I can get her back up.
There was a weird
I don't like seeing myself. You disappeared.
I know.
Did you want to vote on the budget?
Yes.
And what's your vote?
Yes.
Okay. And you need to mute it because we can hear a lot of what's going on over on your side.
Okay, so we have one against and all the rest are for, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes. All right, we're moving on to update hiring policy. Who's going to take that?
Well, I'll take that, Mr. Chairman. This is updating of a hiring policy that was last looked at in the year 2000. So after 16 years, we thought it should be reevaluated. One of the things that we inserted was Commissioner Johnson concern about, he mentioned 6 months in terms of a more realistic opportunity for people to cross-train, and so we put that in there. You've had a detailed explanation plus a resolution and then a copy of the action request, so the administrative staff is recommending approval of that issue.
Okay. Is there someone who wants to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, and there's a resolution here that we can read if we pass this. And then you want to second it. So motion is by Commissioner Kropa, second by Dr. Johnson. And we've all read the, do you want me to read this
No,
resolution?
you don't. If
I've got it right here.
Yeah.
Okay, we've all read the documents. Is there any discussion about this? Yes, Sonny?
How does this affect current employees who have retired and have been rehired back to Grand Traverse County?
It doesn't affect them.
Because we have a number of them.
Yeah, it's just
I
going-
don't know exactly what the number
it's,
is now. A year or
would
so
be,
ago, it was 17. I'm not sure what the number is today
In direct answer to your question, it'd be going forward.
going forward.
And that was my intent, was just moving forward, at least we'll have a policy so that it's a little more cleaner and easier to work with, so.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Opposed, and it carries. Okay, now we're going to old or unfinished business. And who wants to take the Brownfield appointment?
I can do that since I'm on
Would
the
you do it?
Brownfield board.
Go ahead, yeah.
I will make a motion to approve the City Commission's recommendation of Richard Lewis to be the Brownfield Authority City Representative for a 3-year term.
Is there a second?
Support.
Commissioner Wheelock seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it carries. Okay, now the next is the BPW appointment. Would you take that, Elisa?
Yes, the ad hoc committee interviewing the Board of Public Works, the Board of Public Works candidates met at 5 o'clock today, and we did have a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to be passed tonight. Interviews were held to fill one vacancy on the Board of Public Works to fill an expired term for the 3-year term, January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2019. Motioned by Commissioner Ron Klaus, seconded by Dr. Dan Lathrop to recommend Bob Fudge to fill this position.
Okay. Is there a second to that? Dr. Johnson? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. Okay, now, new business. This is rescind resolution number 382016, County Commissioner compensation. Commissioner Crawford, would you like to take that?
Yes, I would like to move that we rescind resolution number 38-2016, County Commissioner compensation.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. And now discussion? Go ahead.
So I read this, so like Joanne, I don't want to get off track. This resolution was passed in March when the financial forecast showed a $4.1 million deficit. The budget we received last week and just passed is, to quote our finance director, balanced, conservative, with full employment included. As Commissioner Wheelock pointed out last week, we usually spend about 97% of the yearly budget. We've also set aside just over $5 million in 2016 for the pension debt and show a possible surplus for 2016. This resolution is no longer necessary for the financial reasons which were stated in March. The Commissioner's salary is 0.2% of the pension debt. The pension debt is 500 times the annual salary for the Commissioners. And the pension debt can fluctuate more than that daily due to the stock market. County Commissioners are not personally financially responsible for the debts of the county. There are many leaders in our country, both in business and who are elected, who choose on their own not to take the compensation that's offered. They do not mandate that those who serve with them do the same, or eliminate the possibility for compensation for those who serve in the future. I would ask that we please allow each commissioner to decide on their own whether to accept the compensation that has historically been offered. We will have a new board in January that will need to work together to solve the problems of the county. I'm asking that this board allow the 2017-2018 board members to decide individually whether to accept compensation for their efforts.
Okay. Any more discussion? Yes.
I'll make the motion to call the question.
Okay.
I'd like to have a little more discussion.
Well, she made a motion to call the question.
So, Doctor, if I could, because Dr. Johnson wants more discussion, what we'll need to do is get a second on the motion to call the question. And under Robert's rules, it'll take, you're chuckling at me, but it's Robert's rules. Under Robert's rules.
I'm not, it's not Bob's rules.
Yeah, okay.
Under Robert's Rules of Order,
Yes.
it will take 2/3 vote, just to let you know.
Okay, so someone needs to second it then.
Second, Commissioner Kropa's request.
All right. Is there anyone that wants to second Commissioner Kropa's request to call the motion?
I'll second Commissioner Kropa's request.
Did I hear that she's going to second?
She's seconding, yes.
Okay. Now, what do we do next?
So now you need a roll call vote because it takes 2/3.
In 2/3, right.
And this is to call the question to
Just
stop
vote and get it
discussion.
over with.
Basically stops discussion, is that right?
It stops
Right.
beating a dead horse, yes.
Klaus?
No.
Crawford?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Maxbauer?
Yes.
Kropa?
Yes.
Wheelock?
No.
Lathrop?
No.
Motion failed.
Okay, let's have discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start on this. You know, originally, I didn't like, and we've talked about it, you know, I didn't like having to vote on that. When I left
didn't
my
either.
house, my wife said, don't vote for that. But my position hasn't changed. I mean, here we've had the sheriff sitting here talking about a couple $100,000, and we want to restore our pay, add another $100,000 to the budget. Yeah, we might have a surplus at the end of the year, but I would think we could use it in public safety or some other area, more important than what we do. You know, Tom, I feel sorry that you ran, and you may have been told that this was probably going to come back, but as far as I'm concerned, we had that discussion before. I really don't like the way it came back. I'm kind of concerned in that we can bring back a lot of things that get voted on. But my opinion hasn't changed. Leadership sometimes requires that you do things that other people wouldn't. Leadership's not necessarily going along with what everyone else would do. The easy thing would be to say, yeah, we'd like our pay back, but I still support us not getting paid.
Okay, anybody else? Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, you know, I didn't dig out the numbers when we had this discussion back in March or whatever it was. I'd done some research that showed the average total compensation package for a commissioner in and 2015 was 14,100 and change. That being salary, per diems, health insurance, or payment in lieu of health insurance. The salary as it is currently structured is, the $7,000, and I think it's $8,000 for the chairman, $7,500 for the vice chairman, if my memory is correct, plus $35 per meeting, plus the IRS's level of compensation for mileage to and from meetings. I found it interesting, and I objected at the time that this was passed. Commissioners voted to give up the salary, but they weren't willing to give up the health insurance that the county was paying for. I didn't support this motion the first time, and I will support the idea of taking it back. I can't imagine that the total of $50,000, $60,000 is going to make a significant difference when the general fund budget's $37 million. The bottom line is, it takes a lot of work to do this job. I've sat in this chair for a long time, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of hours to do this job properly. We've had discussion about the salary should be $1 and you should get paid for going to the meetings. Well, coming to the meeting and casting a vote, that's the easy part of what I do as a county commissioner. I will support rescinding this motion. I would encourage the rest of you to do the same.
Other comments? Yes.
Just one more. I got to add that, when you talked about we all got to work together, and I don't see where, even if this still stands, that should not be a wedge on us being able to work together. We should still be able to work together as a board, whether we're getting paid or not. So.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment on this. No, I wrestled with this one big time, even when it first came out. And the hardest decisions I make are the best ones I make, I think. And a lot of times you go home and you wonder if you made the right decision. This is a beautiful area to live in. Thanks, and a lot of reasons for those guys are right over there to protect us, and these guys that support us in courts and the jails, all those things. It's a fabulous place. One of the things that makes this a wonderful place is the volunteers that spend thousands and thousands of dollars collectively servicing our community. We have a college board that works for free, and we have a school board that works for free. And we have somewhere between a $40 million and a $70 million debt that we have to pay down. And one of the problems with a debt like that, and I think this is something we need to realize, for every dollar of debt that we have to pay, it's $1 less that we can give to our citizens for service or employees for payment. So I have the spirit of, I think it's a good idea during these really hard financial times to set an example. And I am not going to be voting for rescinding this. I believed in it the first time, I wrestled with it hard, and I believe in it now. I concur with you, Dr. Johnson. I respect everybody on this board, and I have a feeling of love for you too, just as much. And all of us, this hurts me financially. You guys think, oh, rich doctor, whatever, but I have some financial struggles too. And I'm not going to parade them in front of you, but I could use this money. I think it's more important to set this example and take this money and put it against our debts. So, okay, yes.
One last comment. We recently appointed an ad hoc committee to form a elected officials compensation review. We reviewed a number of counties. That committee was specifically told not to look at commissioner salaries. We've come back that all of our other elected officials are compensated properly. We have no idea at what level commissioners were being compensated at, but I would be fairly sure that there isn't any of them that are working for $1 a year.
Okay.
We vote?
Okay, let's do a roll call vote on this, and now what's the motion? Oh, yes, please, I'm sorry, I got lost in the moment. Come on up.
I'm looking forward to being on this board so that I can help you. You cite examples of people who aren't receiving money, and you don't cite examples of people who are receiving money, which is convenient for your argument, but the City Commission does receive money. You also look at things as though it's all or nothing, and it doesn't have to be. You can come up with another scale. I really think that this is so wrong. You are making a huge mistake, and I feel like you're being bullied, actually. That's been the feeling here for 2 years, maybe 4 years. And if I go back and read 2 years ago's stories in the newspaper, like I have been prone to do, the same things are being said, and you've had 2 years, you know? Like, you're cutting something that you shouldn't be cutting. If you're going to cut the whole thing, at least you could come up with some kind of plan to compensate people, because the idea that somebody is going to come to all these meetings and do all this work, and they're going to put their own gas in their car, and if they need somebody to help in the family with kids or a wife, they have to pull that out of their pocket too. It's actually going to cost them money to do the job. It's actually pretty revolting that you think this way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann Rogers, 1236 Peninsula Drive in Traverse City, and the county taxpayer also. I think $1 a meeting is an insult. You know, when I was teaching, the story was a view of the bay is half the pay, and so they kept our pay down, and we had to fight like crazy to get any raises that we got. We actually went on strike a couple of times. It's a shame in this country that you have to be wealthy to run for office. It doesn't represent the whole of the country at all. And I applaud Ms. Crawford for bringing this back to the board, because I think this should be looked at. I have no problem paying my taxes and having them go to the right place. And I feel that people who do come to the board should receive some sort of recognition for what the time that they're putting in. I know it takes many hours. So please rethink this, and you know, it's sort of like grandstanding here, and as the last meeting of your year, let the new board decide. Put it on to the new board and let them work on it. Thank you.
Any other comments, please?
Well, the new board cannot make that decision. It has to be done by this board before the new board takes office.
And that's why we voted on it in March.
Hello, Dave Petro, 998 Riley Road, Interlochen. It's surprising. This, I know this is bringing it back up, but the whole tokenism of taking $1 and stuff like that among people who can afford it and things like that. I do appreciate your recognition of volunteers who make this area great. But the volunteers who are doing most of the work, I mean, I recognize what you're doing here, but this is not a volunteer position, are the ones who work in the theaters and the Cherry Festival and the Film Festival and things like that, do an awful lot. Volunteers, I was a volunteer firefighter up here for years. I spent more than I took in and things like that. But when we have the opportunity to do something like that, that's great, okay? But not everybody has that opportunity. The same board, though, here, didn't seem to have a problem with firing one administrator a year and a half ago and paying them $94,000 to not even be here, and then hiring somebody else at a greater rate of pay, and then hiring an administrator or an assistant to do half of his work for him. That seems kind of like, wait a minute, we're going to do this tokenism about that, and then we're going to complain about money. Then we turned around just a couple weeks ago and voted in a $500,000 raise for this county, okay, going into your general budget. No, we didn't. Oh, yes, we did, because we were paying $500,000 for the veterans, and we put in a special millage. I didn't hear anybody there is taking that out of the budget, so that's a raise for this and nothing new for the veterans. So, again, we have money there, and it should be, you know, give some, basically, it's a token what you're paying the new commissioners or commissioners on here and things like that. So I agree with Sonny Wheelock, you should be doing this. So
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
I'm sorry not to beat a dead horse again, but I come back to you again as a taxpayer and as maybe somewhere down the road, you might have this need. Oh, Joanne Tuck, 1901 West Curry Drive, Traverse City, Michigan. Sorry. Please reconsider. I've heard your comments. Please reconsider, because this vote is important. For all the reasons said and for all the reasons not said, I ask you to please reconsider. Please.
Thank you, Joanne. Anybody else? Okay, then let's have a roll call. Go ahead. Roll call vote, and then I want to, what is the motion?
The motion is to rescind the
To
resolution.
rescind. So if you vote no,
That
that means
means you
we will
don't
not
wanna
rescind
rescind
it. Okay. Roll call vote.
Crawford,
Yes?
Johnson,
No.
Maxbauer,
No.
Kropa,
No.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Klaus,
Yes.
Lathrop.
No.
Motion failed.
Okay. Next thing is second public comment. Okay. Notices.
It's done.
Oh, it's done? Okay. I had a question,
Go ahead.
just clarification for outgoing, incoming, staying county commissioners for Chris Forsythe. I've served on 17 different boards, and I've never heard that you can bring back resolutions that have been passed. And I think it sets a very slippery slope and precedent for, I mean, I would love to bring back the Cass Road Bridge motion, but the board voted, we vetted it, we went through the process, and the board voted no. And I accepted that and let it go, and we moved on, even though it was detrimental to our budget.
Right.
At what point are we allowed to bring up resolutions that have already been voted on? Otherwise, one could make an argument that every time we vote down a motion, it's not really voted down, because somebody can just stand up at a podium and bring it back the next week.
Right.
So what does this do for the county board structures? And I read through the county board rules and couldn't find where this was permissible.
Yeah, so it's not explicitly listed in the county board rules, but the county board rules say we follow Robert's Rules of Order. And a motion to rescind is allowed under Robert's Rules of Order, where either you give notice prior, you either give notice when the meeting is called, or you give notice at the preceding meeting. If you don't give notice, then, well, you still can do it, but you then need a two-thirds roll call vote. So we did look at, Bob Cooney and I did look at Robert's Rules to make sure that this was compliant with Robert's Rules. So yeah, that is the one mechanism to reconsider, well, not reconsider, but rescind previously adopted resolutions.
And it's specifically about resolutions, not
Yes.
votes in general, correct?
Yes, right.
Okay. So in the
So-
future, maybe when things like this are found out, sharing them with the Board of Commissioners would be helpful. We go through Chris Kramer, if any of us, if I were to ask John DeVozo from the Board of Public Works for information, John actually sends it to Chris Kramer and distributes it. We passed a board policy regarding this, and so I don't know if we need to make a separate policy regarding the prosecutor's department, since you are our civil counsel and there is a privilege there. But it would be helpful for those of us that maybe had resolutions we had wanted to bring up, and were unable to, and could have learned from that. And I agree with Commissioner Johnson on his concern of how this was brought up, because of the door that it opens for making future resolutions really more malleable than they should be, according to the intent and purpose of the resolutions under the county board laws.
Well, I mean, certainly, I mean, as you know, we have an open door policy. We're here to answer whatever question. We're here to take whatever call. We're here to meet whatever commissioner wants to meet with us. And so I'm just here to answer questions.
Maybe we can discuss that in next week at the county board if we want to have maybe a policy, because no one is sitting around their house going, gee, I wonder if there's a backdoor way to go around with Robert's rules to bring up an old resolution from 9 months ago. But if it does come up and somebody does think that, it would be useful information for all board members to have, to understand. When you nodded your head when this came back up, I trust your judgment and knew that
Yeah.
it was correct.
Right.
But it's not something I ever would have learned reading through the board rules myself, which is what commissioners are given, along with our Robert's Rules trainings, which you teach, and I have been to 4 of, and did not ever learn about this. So I just wanted to make a comment and also clarify from you, and I thank you for that, that it is just regarding resolutions and not board votes.
Right.
Okay, are you all set? Okay, then next is a closed session, and we're going to have one, is that right?
we are.
Administrator evaluation. And then, so I need a motion to go in.
Motion to go into closed session to discuss the administrator's evaluation.
Is there a second? Support. Discussion? All those in favor say
No,
aye.
you have to do a roll call for that.
Well, roll call vote, yes, thank you.
Johnson?
Yes.
Kropa?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Klaus?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Max Bauer? Lathrop?
Yes. Okay, we'll go in closed session. And who's going to handle Commissioner
I'm
Mack?
going to try to just carry you in there.
Bonnie, I have the minutes from our ad hoc committee at 5. Would that be okay to give to you, or how do I?
They go to Chris.
They go to Chris, so maybe I can just put them up in the office when
Yes.
when the meeting is done. I don't want to be responsible. I lost some
No,
once
we're not
last
going to
year.
have any decision. No, I don't believe.
I promise.
Yeah.
Sure. You can go home and be careful driving.
Stevie?
Well, it wasn't so bad in here, not as bad as I think.
So, were you on the expressway then, coming home? How was it?
When I got to Reed City from there north was pretty much one lane.
And it was